Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Retail. In today's episode, you will stay open and serve me. Can I alter your dress? Yes, but not as fast as you want it done. Your no card doesn't work? Let's grab all the frozen meats and then leave. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You will stay open and serve me. So this evening I was on a closer. A customer came in asking to sign up to a contract and have it added to his Wi-Fi one. We do phone and Wi-Fi plans, so I asked if he had a license or passport, required to avoid fraud or people reselling or identity theft, and he didn't. So he went and came back with an ID card for a workplace. I told him a second time what he needed. So he huffed and puffed and said he'd get one and come back. He comes back with a citizen card. We can't accept those, they don't have the required stuff, and so I explain a third time what he needs. He goes off saying ID is ID, and I am required to serve him, or he'll cancel his whole contract, dillygaff, and asks when we close. I tell him 7, and he says he'll be back at 7. So I say that is when we close, and he turns around yelling that he'll be served, and will come under the shutter if needs be. Now I'm picking up sketch vibes. He knew he needed these things first time around. So I call a security guard, shop is in a mall, to come stand there at 7 while panicking. Guard and another one he called for backup stand there for my call until I closed. Guy did come back and start saying I didn't tell him, and that I was to serve him, and he was tired and wanted to go home, same. Like GTFO dude, it's closing, so I sympathize and relate. OFC, he's acting all calm because I have security there. So he says he'll be complaining about me to higher up and leaves. Yeah, okay. Tell them you didn't have the required papers and verbally abused a minimum wage worker to the point where she felt she needed security there because of you. See if I care. And yes, I will be telling my manager about this in the morning. He goes off saying ID is ID, and I am required to serve him, or he'll cancel his whole contract. No problem, sir. I'll get the paperwork started. I just need your ID to verify you are authorized to close the account. I just let out a big ugly HAW in the middle of the grocery store. This literally happened when I worked for a big red cellular provider. It was the holidays, and some dad comes in to get his kids' iPhones. My coworker assists, but he is not authorized on the account. The customer tried 5 different ways to not get it, then became irate, yelling at my coworker to cancel his account. You can't cancel someone else's account, sir. Q foaming at the mouth and impotently storming out. I do not miss retail. I will come in under the shutter if that's what it takes to make you serve me. First of all, that's called trespassing, because the closed shutter makes it no longer a public place. Second of all, those shutters lock, so it's also breaking and entering if you succeed. Enjoy jail. Third of all, I don't live here, so you'll likely be breaking into an empty place of business. When I worked retail, we once had a guy get onto his stomach and army crawl under a mostly closed shutter. We were closed, but still had 1 or 2 customers finishing up sales. When he was immediately told to leave, he was like, "Oh come on, I'm in here now, I'll only be a minute." You guys have to put up with way too much #T. Ken, you will serve me. Me, points to closed sign, sir, can you read? Paraphrasing a line from Start-Eyed Rising by David Brin. I said I would serve you. But I did not say who. I would serve you to. Mr. Dahmer will be glad to know that dinner is ready. I've never seen dillygaff before, but I didn't even bat an eye while reading because it was just so relatable. And now, I have a fantastic way to shorten a whole sentence that also sounds hilarious to me. Yeah, I actually wrote it on a post-it and stuck it to my desk within easy reach for anyone I feel needs to read it. LOL, dillygaff? I'm guessing you have security cams with mics at the store you work at. We do. But it's head office who has access to all the footage, and if he's putting in a complaint, it'll be to them, so it'll be funny for them to watch. Can I alter your dress? Yes, but not as fast as you want it done. I used to be a seamstress for a uniform shop. Mostly boring and repetitive, but once in a while customers brought interesting projects. I liked the duffel bag repairs for the SWAT team, and the first aid kit, and the reflective vests, and honestly even putting hidden pockets in armor carriers, which took a couple hours, but looked so nice. But then there came the dress. This one woman was a regular, but hadn't brought non-work related things before this day. She showed up with a formal gown fitted in boned bodice, strapless, lined all the way down to her ankles, posh fabric, and asked if I could take it in a little in the bodice. Well, yes I can, but it's not easy and I have lots of regular work-related sewing to keep up with. Is this for New Year's? Conversation was in early December. No, she says it's for an event the upcoming Saturday. I actually laughed. No, absolutely not. She tried to guilt/pressure me a little, then realized I was serious and switched to asking how she could make it fit. I suggested a piece of cotton quilt batting wrapped around her torso to pad it out. She didn't like that, but left me alone. The sales guy who was helping her came back later to thank me. He thought it was a bad idea to try even if there had been time, and she tried to manipulate him too. It's mind-boggling that someone can look at an ornate dress and think, yep, no F***king problem, they can move all the beads, and take in the lining, and just move around some of these ribs in an afternoon. I mean, what is that, 30 to 40 minutes work, tops? I was working at a Kinko's long ago, and someone wanted like 900 copies of a book, printed double-sided with tabs, and binding, and they wanted it tomorrow morning. Since I worked the evening shift, that was like 14 hours away. I got a count of pages/tabs/covers/etc., and did the math just on runtime, and it was close to 30 hours of runtime alone if I was running that job, and only that job on both of my black and white printers. And it was closer to 45 hours on the faster of the two machines. After hemming and hawing and begging and arguing with math, I asked what was so critical about picking it up at 8 a.m., and they were like, I need to take it with me to the hotel across town for a conference in 4 days. We got it done in 3 days. We sent half the order to a nearby store, and our delivery driver dropped it off the afternoon before the conference. But it took me doing actual math on a calculator for them to even consider another option. Seriously, boss, the printer prints 100 pages a minute, or 50 if they're double-sided. That's going to slow down to about 40 with tabs and covers being added to the mix. You need 900 books that are 230 pages long, so that's 115 double-sided pages. It's going to take 3 minutes a book just to print. That's 20 books an hour, or roughly 45 hours of print time with no downtime just to print. Then we have to hole punch and coil bind everything. This reminds me of when I got my stepsister a dress for her birthday, but the closing it had on it kept coming open, poorly made decorative cloth buttons, which if I gave her that, everyone would have thought I was trying to give my stepsister a dress she would spill out of. So I took it to the wardrobe clinic. I talked to the lady about options to close it up, and she was like, no, this isn't how this works. You tell me what you want done, not ask for my opinions. Ma'am, I have no idea how clothing works other than to wear it. I do need help knowing what to ask for. After that, she was very helpful, and we got her to sew in like 20 invisible clasp things, so even when the cloth button things came undone, the dress stayed in place. She was also surprised I brought it in 2 months or so early, not needed like 5 hours from then. After this, her attitude towards me changed, and she was happy to patch up clothes and fix up whatever I wanted. I guess she just thought working with a 16-year-old boy was going to be a disaster, which is a fair assumption. My mother used to work as a seamstress. She worked at a factory for a long time, but later got a job at a little wedding dress shop. She loved it there, but some of those women were next-level crazy. You would think, considering that most of them considered this basically the most meaningful dress they would ever wear, that they would get it sorted with plenty of time. No. The sheer amount of them who did not realize it often isn't a case of just walking in, trying on a few dresses until you find one you like, and then buying it immediately. No honey, if it doesn't fit right, which it often does not because they don't carry every dress in every size, then it will need to be tailored to fit you, which takes time if you want it done right. Then there were the ones who were like, I love this one, but is there any way you can remove all of this beading from here? Or I love it, but I just don't like the sleeves, can you take them off? And would then expect it to be done in like a day. The owner would show them something similar to what they actually wanted, which would take far less time and effort to adjust than removing a sleeve or beading or whatever, and they'd still be like, no, I prefer this one, just not with the sleeves. Also, yes, you will be charged more for the tailoring. They deserve to be paid for their services, believe it or not. It is a very skilled bit of work, and you can't do it yourself, Sharon. Mom is a seamstress too, but works from home. Semi-retired now, so just doing small jobs as a little extra income. Mainly small clothing alterations like turning up trousers, repairing rips, etc., or making curtains. Very occasionally people will bring formal dresses to be turned up / taken in / let out. Depending on the construction of the dress, boning, beading or fabric, sometime mom won't be able to do it, either because the amount of time and effort it would take wouldn't be worth her while for the small amount she charges, or doesn't have the equipment or expertise to do it properly, but will refer them to someone else who can do it. One thing she won't touch is wedding dresses. It's too much pressure on her, and she would be scared of ruining such an expensive item. You want to make it look like it fits by Saturday? Safety pins. So many safety pins. Safety pins, hot glue, and duct tape, the go-to quick alteration tools of cosplayers and theater crews the world over. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for good enough. It's amazing how people think that begging for something can allow you to break the law, or even laws of physics, to get something done for them. I'm currently a seamstress at a dry cleaner. I do everything from hemming pants, to replacing / repairing zippers, to gown work. Sometimes I get odd stuff, like repairing golf bags and purses, or turning an old sport jersey from some dude's high school days into a wall hanging. But let me tell ya, the wedding insanity following the post-lockdown opening up has been off the charts. Because all the weddings postponed last year got crammed into the schedule alongside the ones scheduled for this year. And most of the menswear shops in our area stopped doing tailoring and alterations, and half the gown shops either closed entirely or stopped doing alterations too. And they're sending their customers to me. At least once a week, all year, we get a call from a frantic bridesmaid who just remembered that she never had her gown altered, or a groom who just got his tux but needs sleeves taken up. And it's all the wedding is in a week and a half. I'm only in store twice a week, and I don't do the work in store. So it's a push getting them in for a fitting that day, and cramming their urgent stuff, due to piss poor planning on their part, into my schedule, which is already full of pants that need to be hemmed because everyone got COVID fat and had to buy new pants. By the way, it was nice to hear a seamstress story on this sub. My prom dress was a gift. It was a tie-dye kind of pattern with lots of specifically placed sequins. It was the only one of its kind in the shop, so my aunt bought it regardless of size. It was about 4 sizes too big, so I had to get it tailored. All the sequins had to be removed and then resewn. Took the seamstress about a month. I took it to her 3 months in advance, that was as soon as my aunt gave me the dress, because even with zero knowledge on the topic I knew it was going to be a project. Sounds like her unreasonable request came from panic / desperation. Bet she waited to try it on until the last second and realized it didn't fit. Or maybe had just bought it. She was the very definition of petite in every way, so not getting a dress small enough could actually have been a problem. Still, for one evening event the cotton padding would have been okay. There wasn't all that much difference between her and the dress. Enough that it didn't fit, but not awful. Anyway, she had to have known about the event way before she appeared in my sewing room. Oh, I understand completely. I knew a lady who was on a diet and wanted me to make her a whole new wardrobe for $200. Nope, not gonna happen. Then there was the lady who had lost a lot of weight and wanted all of her size 20 clothing taken down to size 10. Again, not gonna happen. The stories just go on and on and on. For $200, tailored up and everything? Wow. I consider myself lucky. I can get out the door for under $100 buying just a few pairs of pants off the rack at the department store. How old was she? Because it sounds like she hasn't paid for anything since the Cold War was still the new hotness. And even then I don't know that it would cover all the labor and other expenses. Ha 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 ha. Your no card doesn't work? Let's grab all the frozen meats and then leave. Okay, today I had a customer come in with a cart full of various items, 99% of it was frozen meat. She asks me to scan up only one item and I ask, is this a separate purchase? She replied, no, I just need to see if my card works here. The store I went to before this had some issues with it. Since I've done this for customers before, it's not all that different. I ring up the item and her card sure enough fails. She does get a bit annoyed because she said that she checked on the internet and found out that her card company was having issues with their servers and wasn't transacting purchases or changes of any kind. She knew this before coming into the store. She said she was going to step aside and call the card company and asked me to hold the items. I go to a couple more customers and she didn't come back. It took about 30 minutes for me to realize she just left because we were very, very busy, and I was the only cashier on shift. The meat was out of the freezers for more than 45 minutes in total, and we had to throw it out because at that point we could not sell it. Thanks random lady for making us have to throw out a good section of our freezer meats. Your store allows you to hold frozen meats at the registers like that? This is strange. We used to roll customers' carts into a walk-in freezer if they had to come back. OP surely works at a small store if they were the only checkout person. I've worked at a big store, and we were also told to keep the lines moving. Could page for someone to come and get the left-behinds that need refrigeration, but no guarantees they'd come, and if we were too busy to do even that, no foul. I believe it. *CK's about the wasted food, but stepping away to deal with it is not always an option, and that's one of the reasons things cost more. I know there were a lot of companies having internet issues today. Didn't realize there were any financials among them. I was wondering about that. My daughter online school was down, and it's the last day for teacher-graded assignments, which really screwed us. Then I had some trouble on a few different sites I was trying to use. I thought the school had everyone doing last-minute stuff, and the others were just coincidence or my computer. I think Venmo was down. Maybe it was one of those Venmo cards. My online class website was down in its finals week. Your store should be allowed to either charge or ban her for that behavior. Charge her to what card, really? I wish we could, but that would have to come from someone higher up than my store manager unless she was caught stealing. That was a stolen card. Yeah, came to the comments looking for this. Had it happened to me once as a cashier, the card worked and they proceeded to make a much larger purchase immediately. Right when the pandemic started, I was working at a grocery store, and we had to throw out so much meat and other frozen foods. People were panic buying, filling their carts with hundreds of dollars worth of product, and then abandoning them in the middle of the store or getting impatient at checkout and leaving. And unless we had someone who was walking around the store and saw the person leave their cart, we could not put any frozen product back. I'd venture to say we lost hundreds of dollars worth of frozen food easy. It was so frustrating. Yeah, tell me about it. Reminds me of the lovely kinds of people that just decide in the middle of shopping to just put a frozen or chilled item on a random shelf because they don't want it anymore. Or put refrigerated stuff in a freezer. I bet if she did come back 45 minutes later, she would have insisted that she got fresh meats instead of that stuff. These people are a type. She did that on purpose. Her boyfriend works in the back and is responsible for throwing out stuff left at the cashier too long. He immediately put it on ice and snuck it out later. And then she dumpster dives for it. Old trick. Good plan. What is a no card and why would you leave the cart sitting there? Why didn't a manager or anyone else see the issue after 5 minutes? You guys must have zero attention to detail. We were very bogged down and we are very understaffed right now. The point is, she said she knew her card wasn't working at other places and said that she looked online and saw her card company was down. I couldn't just go put away the meat while I have a line of customers in checkout. My manager was also tending to other things at the time, and I didn't have a phone near enough to me to call on the intercom without leaving my register. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.